the final day. We're here to say goodbye, but we also wanted to just share with you some of the experiences we had as Tim and I worked with our realtors to put the house on the market. Number one, incredible timing. The day we put it on the market is the day that whole market went off the cliff. The only one worse was 1929, but somehow, some way, a wonderful family has identified 180, and we are turning over the keys to the house tomorrow.
I'm the other half of the comedy act here. I'll tell you, the ones who are probably really hurting inside are the next generation. We were very fortunate to live here for a long, long time. I appreciate everything we got, and I think we move on. Hi, I'm Tim. I'm the oldest of the 13 Ryans.
Hi, and I'm Joe. We're both trustees for the estate of 180. This house, which has been in the family for 65 years. Eileen was the first one brought home. I was too. And one of the responsibilities we have is to stage the house. Not us, but we paid to have the house staged. So the purpose of this video is to show you what they did to our house.
Oh my gosh, look at this place. And this is my favorite view of the house, coming through the front door, looking out at the backyard, the redwood trees, the gazebo, through that large window that Dad had installed. It used to be about 20 squared off windows, whatever, but that was one of the nicer things he did here.
Oh, by the way, this is our living room, and I don't think any Ryan will recognize it because our sofa goes against the wall there, you know, and here these guys have come up and they've taken over the house.
180 to me is like my religion. I came here every Sunday for almost 20 years to see Grandma in the house and swim in the pool and see my cousins. And I'm not particularly a religious person, but this was always my routine. It was always my safe haven. And this was always a place where I felt special with my family, always having big parties and playing and just talking to people.
So where are we right now? What part of the house?
Well, for us, this was the TV room. And this was probably one room that was used by everybody. There were innumerable 49er games, Giants games, Notre Dame football games. Mom had her nice little rocking chair back here where I'm standing. TV was against the wall, and it was a big screen TV, and there were a big couch here and plenty of room for all of us to watch Sunday 60 Minutes. I'd say there was probably, if we took hours of where everybody spent the most time, this room right here would probably hold the designation as the most used room at 180.
Wow, another sitting room. You'd think that the whole place is nothing but a bunch of sitting rooms.
I'm the oldest, then there's girl, 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 girl. So my parents didn't want to put me in a room with the girls, so this was my summer room, and the room right next to it was my winter room. And what was really nice out here is that we used to have this large walnut tree, and I would be awakened in the mornings by squirrels scurrying throughout the walnut tree.
When we first started, there was no asphalt driveway. It was all pebbled, but the boys prevailed on Mom because we wanted to play basketball. So they took out the walnut tree, which is a shame, you know, now with what's going on in the world, but certainly a wonderful place to play basketball. If you look out here, we never had a pool.
And the one other thing I will say is we didn't have this porch up here. You had a carriageway underneath that section of the house, and there was a path back to the barn for a place to have horses, whatever.
What's great about this house is the fact that this house is uniquely suited for a wonderful party. We had a number of wedding receptions here. I know Martha's was here. I know Bridget's was here. I know Frank's was here. I know mine was here. And then,
generation.
oh, absolutely.
My daughter Catherine was here.
It really is a wonderful house. So let's keep on going.
And I first came to this beautiful house when Tim and I were dating in the 70s. And I have so many fond memories of this home, especially the Christmas parties. We had such a wonderful time. There was love and warmth, exchanging of gifts, exchanging of food, and it just was so pleasant. I'll never forget the memories.
Incredible. In a family of 13, he doesn't have one room, he has two.
What room is this one?
Every girl, I think, was...
At one time or another, everyone slept here.
Every girl in the family was here.
But over here, wow, another friggin' sitting area. Holy mackerel. This was
Everybody's favorite
room. My mother, till the time she no longer could go up the steps, had this as her room. Recently, my brother Matthew lived in the room. In the summertime, you open up the windows and you get the breeze, the cross breeze that makes this place just so wonderful. The first thing that you'd never see in this kitchen with a family of 13 is a bottle of wine and some food. This would be consumed in a few minutes. Maybe I'll start this right now. Never, ever, ever will you have anything here.
We also had a lot of sports memories in this house, both playing, for sure, playing basketball, playing football, seeing who could make the most, kick the can, who could make the most 3 points from like across the pool. Ideally not hitting a car, usually we did. But and then watching sports too. We had a lot of Super Bowl Sundays here, rooting for all the Boston sports because of Grandma, of course. Not the biggest Red Sox fans, obviously, but of course with Grandma, kind of have to be. And just a lot of great memories here, to say the least.
Barbecue Sundays with all of the local families here and anywhere in the Bay Area, anybody that would be here. That was always a treat. And one thing I will say is every time we were here, it was very rare to see a sad face or anybody not smiling. Everybody was always happy. It was always a very open and welcome place, and I'll cherish it forever. There's no doubt the most famous line that was ever said here, at least for the third generation. The kitchen is closed.
Actually, we had a den over here. That's where the breakfast room was. Now it's the laundry room. My dad had it redone some time ago. Come on out here. What we like about here is we would sit out here on Sunday afternoons with Mom, and we just hang out here and we just sit around in typical Irish American fashion, talk about everything in the world. And by the end of it, we'd pretty much solve all the world's problems. And that's one thing that I really wanted to stress here is 180, the address here. What's significant about 180 is the fact that when you come here, there's a really good chance that we could turn your beliefs 180 degrees around, because there's so many of us. So you'll just be weary when we get into a political discussion.
Boy, I've been here for 50 years and I've never heard that. Turning 180 degrees. Well, it makes sense. Statements from Reverend Mother Mary Kay, the wonderful things that Martha has done for the homeless people. But it was nice. Mom just liked to sit out here, and we kind of moved Mom around depending upon where the sun was shining.
What I liked about the political discussions that we had, they all started with Dad. Dad was a staunch Republican, and everybody else was not. And in 1972, when Mr. Nixon was voted in, McGovern took 13 of the votes in this house, and my dad had the one that was voted against McGovern. Even my mother voted for McGovern. But it's a place that we get into healthy debates about any kind of topic.
Yeah, the one thing you wouldn't want to say when Dad was here would be, what do you think of that Nixon and Watergate? What a bum. And my dad would go ballistic. Out!
And then one more Dad story. Dad, he always was fighting his weight when he was, it wasn't bad. It wasn't like he's overweight or anything, but he always wanted to get it under control. So one day he was watching the evening news and my mother gave him appetite suppressant candy. So my mom walks in after the 30 minutes of the newscast and asks my father where his candy is. He ate the whole bag. He didn't eat that night because his appetite was suppressed, but he didn't take one piece of candy, he ate the whole bag. We came over from Japan 1972, 1973, and the first thing we did was put in this pool because all the kids wanted to be in the pool. In typical enterprising fashion, we took the 13 kids and we divided their income so that we could all contribute and feel part of this thing. Now, there are some Ryans, like Martha, who went off to Africa, that paid in full from day one. There's some people like Frank who to this day complain because they had to pay the same as Johnny or myself or some of the other ones. But with this whole collective effort called the pool fund, we were able to fund this pool.
I was in charge of collecting on the pool fund. That was one of my jobs as the oldest in the family. And to this day, I think Frank resents having me come around the corner and say, hey Frank, where's your pool fund money?
My earning potential at the time was probably $5.50 a month. And I had to give 95%, 99% of that to Tim. And I was always late. I took a lot of grief for not paying. It was every month. It was like, Frank, you're 6 months behind. Frank, you're a year behind. You're 7 months behind. I mean, it was like I was ridiculed for it.
I went to Dad and I said, Dad, isn't this a little... I said, Frank is paying all this money and he really doesn't have any control on turning on the jacuzzi or anything like that because those are special privileges. Should we kind of let him off the hook and say he doesn't have to pay for a while? And that's it, forget about it. Some people seem to think that I took the pool fund money and went out and bought beer with it or whatever, but I didn't.
No, the pool's here. Now, as you look around this yard, the one thing we want to emphasize to you is the floral beauty. You look at all the area. We have Brother Matt to thank for all the flowers, for how wonderful this place looks. Nothing made my mother happier than to have Matt puttering around in the garden on a Saturday or Sunday while Mom read the newspaper. It was a very, very special part.
I'm a gardener. I learned my trade here. It was a good place to start. Our neighbors, the Ameses, were quite a mentor to me. Mrs. Ames would come over here regularly and tell me the names of plants and pass me on some plants, and that's where I got to start. I grew my green thumb there at that point, and then carried on and got a degree in horticulture, and couldn't have done it if I didn't live here, that's for sure. I can't think of a bad time here. I'm sure there were, but I'm not going to remember those. I'll remember all and cherish all the good times. So, totally blessed to be here. Thank you.
We had our wedding reception here in 1987, and it was beautiful. It rained the whole week before, and it was on May 2nd, and it was a beautiful day, and it's definitely my fondest memory here. It's just always been, like our nephew Sean said at Christmas last year, 180 has always been a welcoming place. You just walk in the door and you feel welcome.
I have such great memories of 180 as a kid. We used to drive up from Los Angeles and we would stay here. And perhaps the most outstanding time we had was when Frank chased us throughout the house, upstairs, and threw us down the laundry chute. And I will say my other favorite memory as an adult at 180 is talking about my beloved Dodgers in a land filled with black and orange.
I'm the youngest, 13 out of 13 of the Ryan family. Spent many great years at this wonderful home that my parents provided for us. I had my wedding reception here with my wife almost 25 years ago. I think we're coming up on 25 years this year. Obviously lots of good times. Whoever gets this home will love it. It's a great family home, and we hope you enjoy it.
And we got married at St. Catherine's Church in town and then had our wedding reception here at 180. and that's probably one of my fondest memories. There were 250 people here having a great time, and there are 3 bathrooms in the house, and as the bride, I had to go to the bathroom in my beautiful dress, and I went over to the cottage, and as I went into the cottage, I shut the door behind me and got my wedding dress stuck there, and I couldn't get out. I had to wait there till somebody came. I don't even think Frank knew it happened. I think one of our guests rescued me. Someone had to use the bathroom and found me.
Throughout the year we had all these events. My personal favorite was the Easter egg hunt, because I always wanted to get that gold egg. We, for decades, would put Easter eggs all over the yard, and the kids would be let out and go get their Easter eggs. And there was a year where maybe 3 months after Easter, I was out in the yard here and I found the Easter egg, and the candy was still good. And this is the plot of land that kind of was not used over time. I do know that my dad was really angry once when Bill and Tim suggested we get some pigs and goats and have them over here. He didn't think that was too funny. But my personal favorite story is the fact that my dad was here once and he had the statue of Mary on top of this. It's a fountain, but it's a bird bath. And one day my dad knocked it over. He didn't mean to knock it over, but he knocked it over and he put a crack in the Blessed Mother's neck here. So I was minding my own business one day, coming back here, and my dad had a new statue of Mary, and he had an old statue of Mary that he couldn't part with. He just couldn't throw that away. It just didn't seem right. And I just walked in and he said, "Joe, just the person I'm looking for." And he asked me just dispose of it the way I see fit, of the statue of Mary. But what he did is transferred that guilt to me. And to this day, that statue of Mary is in my yard. And I think about that every single day when I see Mary.
What my mom was always kind of worried about, what my dad would do, was he loved fountains, he loved glitz, he loved lights, whatever, that he was going to have some kind of miniature Las Vegas fountain back here. Fortunately, we never made that much money that we could put into a fountain.
I've had a lot of good memories at 180 West Poplar. Just enjoying time with family and friends in this wonderful house. Sad to see it go, and we'll surely miss it dearly, but some of my fondest memories have to be fun Easter egg hunts we had out here, fun basketball games, pool parties, and having fun with cousins and whatnot. So gonna miss it a lot, but always will have the fond memories to bring with me, so yeah.
This backyard, this house has so many wonderful memories. Our children were baptized behind the redwood trees over here. I have had such love for the house and the people in it, for Grandma and Grandpa. This is an end of an era, and it's sad, but I gather it's going to be in good hands.
Here's our basketball court. Notice the even surface here. We'd be driving and we'd push someone over here so the ball would hit here and bounce away and we'd recover it. Sorry, it's called home court advantage. I couldn't dunk a basketball, but this is only 9 feet 6 inches, so if I really, in my youth, I could jump and I could take a tennis ball and I could dunk it. And my best shot was right off here. I'd kind of lean a defender and then bring them in here and have them smack into the wall, and then I would have a layup.
With this house, almost every boy in the family has been a paper boy for the San Mateo Times. And the San Mateo Times had all these inserts. If you want to see any of those inserts, you just open that little door down there and lift.
All those unfortunate San Mateo residents that didn't have those inserts to read.
They never received their inserts because our guys were too lazy, or we started too late. Insert them in with a copy of the paper. They just said, "Hey, why don't we just put it over there?" So they opened that up and they dumped all the inserts in there.
Whomever celebrated their wedding or their whatever it happened to be for the event here, they got control over this place. So Bridget and Dave, when they got married and they had their reception here, Bridget put some flowers in there and didn't want anybody playing basketball. So that was the cue that basketball was off limits at this party. However, at my reception, There were 18 guys that put in $1 each, and we had a horse contest. And then after that, we had a big game, and Billy Gilbertson was here, and he's 6'9". He was the center of everything, but it was great fun. It really was. The cottage was the servants' quarters when it was originally made. They had the Nelsons, and the Nelsons were a family of 12, and they pretty much destroyed this place.
I don't know if they destroyed it. They had a big family, I think a lot of girls, and from what I understand, a lot of attractive girls.
What the?
But they have, what does that have to do with it? I don't know. That's what I remember about the Nelsons.
Hi, my name is Therese Ryan, and behind me is the cottage, which is where I set up my home. I loved it. It was perfect for a single person. I think the most memorable would be the holidays when everybody came home. Huge crowds would come over and would pretty much last until New Year's Eve, because December 30th was my mother's birthday that everybody stayed for to celebrate that wonderful day. Although I wasn't here, I always remembered the story of my mom and the rent-a-car. The story starts with my mother coming home from work and borrowing a businessman's rent-a-car to get home as her mode of transportation. He gave her the full description of the rent-a-car, and so when she finished work, she went to the garage. The only red car she saw was a lowrider car, which was dingo balls with a mini steering wheel and a chain, and the rent-a-car key worked. So my mother drove home in this lowrider car that she thought all along was a rent-a-car. She pulls in, and the boys are all playing basketball out here, one of their favorite pastimes, and they see this lowrider car coming in. Couldn't believe who is driving that car, and it was my mother that came out. They returned the car manning the booth was the owner of the car. It was his car, and he sees my mother driving his car.
So come on in.
In 1969, after I graduated from college and before I went into the Army, drafted in the military, I was out here with my buddy Deke. I slept here, he slept next to me, and then one of his buddies was over here. Separated, we had Martha, Eleanor, and one of Martha's friends from the University of San Diego. So at the minimum, we had 5. And then when some of these guys from Massachusetts, Deke's friends, started showing up, we would get up to, like, I'd say 7 to 8 people in this whole cottage. Mary Kay had enough sense. She didn't want anything to do with this, and she went up and lived in the city with her friends. At the time, we really didn't have a lot of money, and I would keep all my money in a jar in the kitchen. I'd always find out that some of that money was pilfered. Mom would take some of the money to buy groceries. You got it.
I was brought here when I was a baby, and what's interesting about it is I have 2 older brothers, and they were brought home in Tokyo. And I have 3 younger brothers, and those 3 younger brothers, 2 were brought home from Yokohama. Frank was from Yokosuka, but me, I was brought home here.
You know why? To be president of the United States, you have to be a U.S. citizen, have to be born here.
Yeah, Dad had a premonition that I was presidential material, so they got on a plane and came out. Of course, Eileen and Therese will interject that they were also born here, so they were also presidential material. We had the Chinese group come over. We had a reception here, and I brought one of the older fellas right to here. And I said, only 2 places in the world that these grow, Northern California and some small place in China where I don't know, but it allowed us to bond. You know, it's a special time. Look at the magnolia will be coming into bloom there. It's built in 1907. When you look at it from the front, it doesn't look like it's as large as you finally realize.
Yeah.
But it's just a special place.
My mother's parents came out and they stayed with us. And I remember we used to take pictures with Grandma and Grandpa right here. They were always amazed at how many children that their daughter Kate had.
For me, I don't ever remember meeting my grandparents, forever. I have seen photos with me as a baby, but during the time that Tim speaks about, but you know, that's a little bit of a loss. But the one thing we did have is we had Mom and Dad for an extended period of time, and for that we feel blessed. And not only that, I think it was your Sean that made the comment about the house and how many generations of family were able to enjoy this place. And what I liked most about that speech on Christmas Eve that Sean made was everybody felt welcome when they came to 180.
My name is Masahiro Ryan, and I am the second daughter. The summers were terrific here. We always had a party every Christmas and Thanksgiving and Easter. Lots of joy. Sorry to see it go. I'm happy to know that the family that is moving in truly wants it for their family. Apparently it's a family that is growing, many grandchildren coming on, and they want to have a place for them to come, to play, to swim, and to be together. And that's exactly what we did. And I feel grateful and privileged to have been able to live here, to grow up here, and to have this as part of my history. I thank my parents.
I will just say 2 words that I used to hear a lot of here would be my mother, and all of a sudden she'd blurt out, "Ryan, what are you doing?" And then Ryan sometimes at other times would say, "Digger, where are those lazy kids?"
That has nothing to do with what I just said, but
No, it has nothing to do with it.
180 will be with us forever, and our children, and our children's children.